Welcome everybody to my lecture. Creative Mornings, for me, is the first time here. I'm from Amsterdam, so it's quite special to be at Creative Mornings here in Utrecht. But since a month or so, I also work with the HKU, so that's the School of Arts here in Utrecht. So I felt, well, I think it's perfect timing. I'm now also a bit related to Utrecht, and the theme, of course, ethos. I totally understand why you invited me to talk about it, because that's my profession. I'm an ethicist, and I like working with creative people, creative professionals. So I thought, yeah, I can say something about that. And I decided not to prepare the lecture not too intensively, but just tell my story and also ask your opinion. So I really invite you to join me in my lecture because I want to tell an interactive story. Because I have questions. That's basically what philosophers do. They ask questions. Ethos, interesting concept. I was thinking I chose Bob Ross as an example for the first slide, because there is already a question there about ethos. Is he a good creative professional, and why yes or why no? I mean, given the fact that he reaches so many people and gives them pleasure and joy in painting, I think that's a good thing. When I look around what you replied as an answer, what does it mean to be a good person or to be a good creative person, creative professional, that might be one of the answers. On the other hand, you could say it kills creativity, because he lets people paint in a certain way. There is very little space for your own interpretation. So I think he's a very good example of a debatable creative professional. And I think he died recently, isn't he? Yeah. But I know that he has. What zeg je? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. We haven't heard from him for a long time. But I heard people who told me that you can really become a Bob Ross instructor, certified. So you really need to. There's big business behind it. And because I heard about Bob Ross non-certified. No, not creative. So you're not creative when you steal a person's idea that is business-like, from a business perspective, very creative, but maybe from the creativity. So you can already debate about that, but I'm not going to do that with you. But I thought it would be a nice start of the lecture. Okay, the whole concept of ethos, it's a Greek word, and Greek as in ancient Greek. And the reason why we still use that word is because we know it from Aristotle. But he used that word in a very specific context. And the context where Aristotle was referring to was a public person who gave a public lecture, a public speaker. So somebody who tells a story with an audience. And the question of the ethos, it means it's like having being of a good character, but also the whole set of your moral principles. That's what we refer to as ethos. But in the context of Aristotle, it was really used in public speaking. So when you tell a story to an audience, as I'm doing right now, he said there are 3 elements that are important of being a good speaker, a good person. And the first one is phronesis. And that's the Greek word for practical wisdom. And practical wisdom is the wisdom that you don't learn from reading books, but it's the wisdom, theoretical books. It's the wisdom that you pick up through life. For example, Aristotle was of the opinion that having friends is so important for us because we learned what it is to be a good person in relation with other people. So when you live isolated from other people, you will never develop a good morality. You will learn this through interaction with other people. And once you get older, your morality can grow, your moral consciousness can grow. And that's one of my, I'm really a big fan of Aristotle because I think that ethics is not something that comes from a theoretical book. Philosophers say this is the right thing to do and this is not the right thing to do. I think we learn this through life. And since we cannot experience all things in life, we read stories, we tell stories, and nowadays we watch stories, and we do this collectively. We all watch the same stories and we talk about this. And when we talk about these stories, we always talk about morality. We talk about these people, we judge them. We think some people are bad or some people are good. And through these conversations, we sort of collectively develop a moral consciousness. So I would say what we mean ethics or morals is always an intersubjective thing. And that idea basically is the basement of Aristotle's thinking. But there were more to this. It's not only the practical wisdom. There's the wisdom that you understand that if you tell a lie, this will be the consequence, or people will be hurt, or in some situations it's better to tell a lie because the consequences will be even worse than. But that's phronesis. Arete is the virtue of the goodwill, so that your intentions are good. Well, I stand here with good intentions. You should trust me upon that. And ainonia, the goodwill towards the audience. So I think when you think about the idea of ethics and ethos nowadays, we don't think of these two elements, the last element. But I was thinking, and okay, you should also know that for Aristoteles, in those days, 2,000 years ago, he thought that being good was somewhere between the extremes. So the golden midway, the gulden middenweg. So between passionate and calm, somewhere in between. That was he meant by being good. And he gave these examples like eating too much is not good, but eating nothing, then you will starve. So good is a sober life, but nutrition. But I think when we talk about ethics nowadays, that balance is not what we are after. So I think being somewhere in between the extremes of doing nothing and doing too much, I think it asks for more nuance, the things problems, the challenges we face today. But I was thinking, when you look at this list, and I think about the arts or the creative profession, I think this all apply. Because when you create an artwork or when you design something, you always communicate something. You make it, and somebody else will use it or consume it or watch it. So I think these three elements, we can work with that. That was what I thought. So you have the skills and the practical wisdom. You have a goodwill, and there is some. You do something, and there is an audience. When I think about that balance between passion and calm, I always think about Adam and Eve in paradise. They didn't think themselves about this question. What does it mean to be a good person? What should I do to be a good person? They didn't need to think about that because in paradise everything was in order. I think it was totally boring, and and I think especially Eve was missing something. Because she felt something. She felt being a human being meant that she wanted to know. She wanted to know how she could know that something was good. So somewhere outside of Eve, something was appealing to her. She wanted to be a good woman, I think, but she didn't have the answer to that question. What does it make? What do I have to do to be a good person? And in paradise, it was not relevant because there were no conflicts. There was no decision to make. But the curiosity about that question, what does it take to be a good person? So she was seduced to take a bite from the apple. And after that, she was able to ask that question herself and seek for the answer. But the thing is, there is no definite answer to that question. And I think that is what being human is basically about. That's what is the major difference between us and other animals, is that we have that question. The question, when am I a good person? And when you are a professional, creative professional, what does it take to be a good creative professional? So that's the question I want to discuss with you. I think Eve was the first one who said, I want to be an autonomous person, and I want to ask that question myself, and I want to search for the answer. And I can tell you, in the tree there were apples. There were no ethical theories. So it's not that there was a book there that had the basic instructions to life. It's a metaphor. You eat it and it's embodied. You feel. When you feel it when something is not okay. So far, my ideas about ethics as an introduction to this lecture. And I was thinking, so I'm here as a guest at CreativeMornings, creative professionals from the creative industry. And I was thinking, the first artwork that came into my mind when I was thinking about ethics is this painting. You all know, huh? Yeah. Can you tell me what it is about?
No, sir.
No? Does anybody know what it is? It's Guernica, yeah?
It's about an attack on a small Spanish village in the Spanish War, Civil War, I think.
Yeah, so it's Guernica, and Picasso made the painting. It was a village, Guernica, in Spain that was demolished, I could say, or yeah, after in the Spanish Civil War. And I saw it as a child, and my mother, she's an art historian, so she told me you have to. I always had to go to musea, and I still love it. And she said this is the most important work from Picasso because it is was his way to document what happened in that village. So he's apparently, apart from all the other paintings he made, this is, I think, one of the this is probably the most political one, because it's a way of documenting. And you can take a photograph, you can make a documentary, but his means was painting, and he painted this. And I think what he did, it's not my task to interpret artworks, but I do like doing it. I think what he did is that he, through his creativity, what he was good at, his profession, his expertise, he translated that feeling of that village into an artwork that will last forever. So we will never ever forget what happened there. But it is his own interpretation. And I think this artwork, therefore, is a very good example of an artwork that is about ethics. What does it tell you about Picasso? What does it tell you about? Can you tell me what it tells you about Picasso?
That he was against the war, and he felt very sorry for the people that were in that village. I think he wanted to express the horrors of war.
Yeah. So you say he was. It tells you about Picasso that he was really disturbed what happened there, and that he had empathy for the people in that village, and he needed to express this. He felt their pain, something like that, maybe, and his way of expressing this pain was in this painting. Was it also a political manifesto? Do you think?
I don't think it's directly, because I don't see any political parties being presented. You don't see the enemy, you just see the consequences of the attack.
Yeah, so there was probably no political agenda, but this is what he did. It was his work and his way of putting empathy in his artwork. This is one example. I'm going to give you another example that is a little bit more close to my field, because I work with bioartists. So I work with artists that want to work in a laboratory with living organisms. And I can tell you, within that field, the bioart field, there's a lot of activism. And I think this is the catalog of an exhibition 2013, something like no, yeah, a couple of years ago in Stedelijk Municipal Museum of The Hague, and it literally had this title: "How Art Saves the World." So the curator of this exhibition, Ine Gevers, she really believes that it is the task of the art to save the world. How does that make you feel? Do you agree with that?
Quite a responsibility.
Quite a responsibility. So you feel a little bit too much on your shoulders. Yeah.
Maybe too much value on art, maybe.
Too much value on art, maybe also. Now I can tell you that there was a very well-filled exhibition. And I think most of the participating artists, they really have an agenda. So sustainability, of course, is a theme. Biodiversity is always a theme. What are we doing to the planet, and how can we use a creative mindset to? We are influencing our ecosystem every day. So why not do it in a better way? And that's a design question. So I think that this is, for me, it was always a very interesting example of being on a mission, being a good person, and also making this world a better place.
I agree.
Hmm?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm looking.
I saw the phone exhibition of all young photographers. And it struck me that all the artists were having something political about the youth, about current problems of gender. So hey,
Yeah.
all the young people, they make pictures, and it's all about some other issue.
Yeah.
And I think that we have such difficult problems now. We need some more creativity.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what they can do. And some say even, how can you be an artist with this current climate change crisis? I mean, that's a bit too much, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think so. What you were saying is, when you went to a photo exhibition, I'm repeating in case somebody wants to see it on the video. Many of the photographs, there was activism behind it. Issues are addressed, and you're also saying, if I heard you correctly, it is only the artist that can do it in that way. To make it visible, and that's why why I chose artists over philosophers, because I only have words. I can talk and I can write, but if you can see it, and if it's visible and or embodied, like you do a performance, people understand immediately. So there is more power to your words, potentially, if you're a good artist. But okay, I asked.
However, I think many artists try to express something or focus on on with their lives?
I don't know.
I think it's a good thing, right? But they're not really solving.
Yeah, but in order to solve these big issues, you can only solve collectively. So awareness is part of it, and sometimes you need some shocking. But I asked, we used a piece of paper, and I asked you 2 questions. What does it mean to be a good person, and what does it mean to be a good creative professional? And one of you replied, I have aandacht, I have attention for the world around me, and I get into action in a response to that. And I think then that person, I don't know who it was, clearly didn't want to make a distinction between being a good person and being a good creative professional. That's one of the reasons why I asked. It's the same. It's a personal driving force, your personal motivation that both drives you as a human being in this world, but also in your profession. I'll give you another example. I have one colleague when I worked in Maastricht, and because I love definitions of art. So one of my favorite questions is, what is art? And there are many answers, I know, and there's no such thing as the right answer or a good answer. But one answer that I always like is Theo Ploeg. He is a sociologist he's a sociologist and he works at Art Institute. And he said, art is a way of proposing a different reality. So what art means to him, and I kind of like his idea, the task of artist or art is to show how you could do things differently. I'll give you and this is the first example that came in my mind when I had that definition in mind. Does anybody know who this person is?
Well, from the Yes Man.
The Yes Man, yeah. Okay, the Yes Man. It's So, you Google it, Yes Man, Bhopal, and then you see the videos. What happened is the following. Bhopal is a city or a region in India, and there was a Dow Chemical had a chemical plant there. There was a disaster. I think 3,000 people died. Pollution all over, and they never cleaned their mess. And 20 years after the Bhopal disaster, this artist from the Yes Man, he sent. They did a great job. They sent a press release to all the media, including the BBC, stating that at that time, at that place, Dow Chemicals will make a statement. And he went on stage somewhere in a public space, camera crew, and he introduced himself as Jude Finisterra, the Dow Chemicals spokesman, and he said, it's now 20 years ago that we had this disaster and we want to apologize, and he also made an offer to pay. That is the most literal example of an artist who shows what a different reality could be. Because he was not from Dow Chemical, of course, and they didn't know anything at Dow Chemical. So at Dow Chemical, there was a panic. Because they kept it below the radar for 20 years, and now he did this. It was on BBC, and then they had to explain, BBC had to explain how it was possible that they didn't notice it was a hoax. I mean, yeah, so for me, this is a typical artwork that is that exactly what Theo Ploeg, my colleague Theo Ploeg, said what art can be. Google it. The Yes Man, Bhopal. I think I'm a bit of an anarchist. Yeah, I like it, but I have another example.
There's a whole documentary about it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's
Yeah.
really nice to watch.
Yeah.
And what did he achieve in the end by this art?
I don't. I must say I don't know. It's too long ago that I digged into it. I don't. I think Dow Chemical did do something, but maybe you know.
I don't know because I watched a long time ago, but I
Yeah, I
think
forgot.
they do it with other projects as well, with different kinds of ways. But I think they bring a lot of awareness.
Yeah.
So that's, and I think even there something happened with like they had to, the company had to do something. I don't remember.
Yeah, they had to. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
ignore this
Yeah.
because something that happened 20 years ago, and suddenly, I think they did something. But yeah. But you can look it up. For me, it is more an example of what art can do. And there are probably many people around to say, well, this is not art. I would say, well, what is it then? Okay, I don't care. Okay, another example. This is, does anybody know? This is the Rainbow Soul Club. It's two artists, Saskia and George. They, I think, 15 or 20 years ago, they decided they would like to work with homeless people in Amsterdam. And most of these homeless people are drug addicts or and this is a shelter where you go during daytime. So you go there, it opens in the morning and it closes in the evening, and you can go there, you can get clean needles, you can get a good meal, and people work together. And there is also a special place in the basement where you can use in a safe environment. And Saskia and George, they were both teaching at different art schools. They thought they wanted to do a project with these homeless people. And they started a drawing table. So they just went there, table, and yeah, all the materials you need to make nice pictures or whatever, and just sit there. There were no rules. There was no goal. There was no objective. So that it was not like creating an artwork together or teaching them how to paint. It was just being there and communicating. And through that process of doing nothing, actually, they bonded with the people. Because in the beginning, the people from Blackawatra, the place, were like, who are these people? What do they want from me? Because they're very suspicious. Because there are always people from caretakers that want to change people, change their behavior, and they really don't want it. They said the most important thing: leave your agenda at home. Just sit there. And the fact that they are still going there for 15 years now, and together they are, yeah. I had a lot of conversations with them. And what is it exactly? Are you? Is it an artwork? They don't care. It's a Rainbow Soul Club, and they're really connected. And the people from Blackawatra, they really love Saskia and George, and they feel that they can be themselves in their presence. But there are strict rules, but they are not visible, and the rules are not as goal-oriented or the product, but just the process of being together and being respectful together. I learned so much of working with Saskia and George because I had to do. I could work with them, but I had the feeling I have to deliver something at the end, because yeah, I'm paid. But that was the most vague assignment I ever had. Just talk with them. And it took me half a year to realize that's the essence. Let go the result, just be there. Okay, there was a publication in a book and I'm very happy about it. But I want to talk about free advice because they do many cool things with most of them have roots in Suriname. They're really relaxed. The project they do I like most is called Free Advice. So these homeless people that really have nothing, well, they have themselves and they have their own creativity. They sit in an exhibition space. It could be the Amsterdamse Bos or maybe in Stad Schouwburg. And there's this sign, it says free advice. And as the audience, if you go there, you can just sit. And they have specialists. So one of them is specialist in love affairs. Another is specialist in money affairs. Though they all have their own specialists. So if you need advice on love affairs, for example, you go to this person, and then you sit there and you get free advice. So what happens is that Saskia and George, by doing this, they stage a meeting, but they don't do anything. They just put a sign and 2 chairs, and then the only thing they do is staging. But what happens when you take a seat? You are the person with the problem, and the person you always perceived as having a problem or being a problem, is your advisor. That's the essence of the whole thing. And I think this is a very good example of being a good person and being a good creative professional, and also the definition I borrowed from Theo Ploeg, that art is a way of showing a different reality, different possibility. How much time do I still have? 5 minutes? 10. I was thinking, because I have some examples. Skip Documenta, because, that's too difficult. Can anybody tell me why she did Lady Gaga and the meat dress? Because I asked my daughters, I have 2 daughters, one 18, one 16, I asked them, when you think about art, critical art, ethics, and my 16-year-old said, yeah, Lady Gaga, the meat dress. So I have to include this in this. Can anybody tell me what was the meaning of this dress?
Publicity.
For what? Awareness?
Yeah, awareness, but for what? Was she really trying to create awareness for the meat industry? I don't know. Or was it just shock? Huh?
Against it, probably.
Yeah, do you think so?
She could also draw attention to the fact that she's perceived as meat.
Yeah. But the fact that you don't know really kind of triggers me. Did she?
Yeah, she's lacking some skills. That's the first one.
She's lacking that. She's a great singer. No, but the fact that you don't know why she did this, and it was in all the newspapers, makes me wonder how effective she was.
Looking at all her other dresses through the years, it's just publicity, I think, or
Just another
a style, marketing.
Lady Gaga.
I don't know.
Yeah, so then maybe Lady Gaga would say, I'm a good creative professional if I reach a broad audience. Punt. Nothing else. Just connection, and I create a stir in society that makes me a good creative professional. But there's no ethics. But I don't think so. There must be a reason why she did this. She must be highly intelligent. I totally believe she's a very intelligent woman.
The risk if you do it this way, then the polarization that's already there is just strengthened. So some people say, you see, meat is bad, and others say, you see, it's stupid to do it this way. So it creates something, but I don't know if it's the direction she wants.
But maybe she just thought, I'll throw it in the world. I'm a designer. I wish she didn't design the dress herself. It was a fashion designer. And then let society deal with it. Is that okay?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I think when you create an artwork, there's no way you can control the public reception of your artwork. So maybe she just thought, yeah?
Maybe it's even better because she doesn't state a very clear message, she just lets you think for yourself. But it is very provocative to think about.
Yeah.
Maybe that's even better than having a very clear statement.
Yeah, and I think
Apparently,
the
It
intention
could have
is
been,
to
and it
provoke.
could have been anything.
No, because she makes you think in a specific direction. If she was wearing a plastic dress, the thinking would be totally different. So there's really a point.
there's a
It's not
big
that
difference
clear.
between going on stage in this dress and the standard Greenpeace campaign, where there is no space for your audience to start thinking for themselves. I mean, so in that sense, maybe this is a highly effective, is a great artwork.
So what is your opinion about the two teenagers that put the tomato sauce on the Van Gogh painting?
Oh, I missed it.
Kind of provocative.
Yeah, but when did this happen?
Last week, two teenagers.
Yeah, I had a very, very busy last 2 weeks. Oh my, what happened? Tell me, I will give you my
Threw tomato sauce or soup or whatever on a Van
Campbell
Gogh-
soup.
No,
Yeah, Campbell's,
Heinz.
Oh.
on a very expensive Van Gogh painting, which wasn't, I don't know if they knew, but it wasn't affected by it because there's a piece of
Yeah.
glass in front of the painting.
Where was it? At the Van Gogh Museum? In England.
Yeah.
Is it? And who were they? Were they representing
Stop oil now, sort of action.
Extinction Rebellion?
No,
No.
part of it, sort
Yeah.
of,
Sort of
Related.
comparable,
Yeah,
like.
extension
Was
rebellion.
it a statement like what's more important, save art or save life?
That's what they said.
Yeah, they do have a point because is a lot of criticism also about how the oil industry uses the musea as a greenwashing. So there is a debate going on there, and they were teenagers.
Yeah.
Okay, then they were probably not aware of that debate. It was more that it probably came straight from the heart.
I don't know that
It was
Stop Oil now is a
spontaneous
really activist group in the UK. So I think they know because they are really, they might know because they are really into all
Yeah.
the oil stuff.
Okay, I think, yeah,
Cameraman.
Yeah.
It
They,
wasn't
they,
an accident.
the artistic value, if I would say the artistic value of that action, it's done before. I don't think it's very original. I do think it comes from a good heart, but maybe I don't know. But
Not ethical.
Well, isn't it? Because there was glass in front of it.
yeah, they probably didn't know that. But I do think the activism, had the underlying activism is okay. If you have at that age and Stop Oil, I think that's okay. But the action itself it has very little artistic value in the sense that it's a bit of a cliche. It's done before, whereas this one,
Yeah.
That's what it's saying.
that's a different because
Again, the polarization that's already there was just strengthened.
Yeah.
So people who like the action say yes, people who hate it say, oh, it's stupid, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
So it's the same with this one.
But what I found
no, this one is more intriguing. She really she provokes in a different way because she leaves space for your own interpretation. But throwing tomato sauce, it happened in the UK, and it's not tomato sauce, it's tomato sauce, rotten tomatoes. I have to wrap it up. Okay. One.
Oh wow, yeah, that's crazy.
Tell me,
Yeah, I love it.
how was this perceived in the creative community?
It depends on whose house it is, isn't it not
Guggenheim?
Putin's house?
Yeah, it is Guggenheim.
Because Putin also had these golden stuff. And then you hate it,
With a ship around it, right?
but
this is pure gold, isn't it?
but it
I think
goes
it's
on.
pure gold. Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's pure gold.
It's a shit art.
Good shit. Yeah, but what was the statement he wanted to make? Who made this?
Catalan, Mauricio Catalan. Right?
It is at Guggenheim in Bilbao, I guess. Yeah. Or is it in the US? In New York.
He offered it to Trump as an art house, as art for the White House. Where Trump
Yeah.
was in the White
So
House.
Trump.
Oh, yes.
But is this good art?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. And why is it amazing?
No, it's not.
It's not.
It looks beautiful, so it's a nice creation.
That is the aesthetic criterion. Yeah.
And you think, yeah, why not make the toilet like a beautiful thing?
Well, that's why not.
Yeah. You say no, it's
No,
not good
because
art.
Why not make a toilet in gold? I mean, you can make a statement about any utility. I'm a bit disappointed by the toilet paper, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't. This is echt sloppy design compared to this.
You might think the creator spoiled his creativeness. You think, well, why? You can also, it's not spoiled. You're happy if you can shit now.
Yeah,
And everybody was allowed to go to that toilet.
I think so, but there were queues.
It was just the toilet in the museum.
Just the toilet.
Yeah.
It made me think about
So it wasn't
the
even-
project that Marcel Wanders, the designer from Amsterdam, once did.
Yeah.
And he was on television on a talk show way back, and it was a can, just a tomato sauce can.
Not Campbell soup. No.
I don't know. And it was made golden, verguld.
Yeah.
And later, a few years back, I heard that he said about his work that he sells beautiful lies,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and that's also his chain, his
Yeah.
appearance. And I think this is a beautiful lie.
This is also a beautiful lie, but
I don't care.
yeah, but there is a statement behind it, and
Yeah.
also here. But I think, yeah, I'm going to wrap up.
Can we do one or two of the?
Yeah, that's what I'm a good person if I lead with kindness and empathy. And I'm a good creative professional. I don't judge my work and trust myself and allow explore what's outside my comfort. So I think I don't judge my work and trust myself and allow to explore, so that you have an open mind and willing to take a risk, I would say. Am I right? Somebody else, some of you said, well, there is no difference between being a good person and a good creative. And I think empathy, I see a lot. I can, I have empathy with other people, or I can help other people and maybe companies, make them happy. I'm a good creative if I have a beautiful idea, whereas beautiful is, of course, subjective. Somebody says, I'm a good person if I'm free to do whatever I want. And I'm a good creative if I can do that, but then make something new and have impact. Then I would, yeah, what is impact? Is impact towards creating a better world. I listen to myself, my art, and I'm honest. And I fight my own demons. Yeah, that makes me a good person and also creative. Okay, just to give you a few examples, people really have different answers to these questions, and I don't know whether you can separate the two, but I think that's my takeaway message for today. What does it mean to be a good person and a good creative professional? Thank you very much.